Hello. Well, here we are in December, and my mind is all over the place, so I haven't even set up my advent calendar yet. It's just crept up on me so quickly. So I thought I'll run around and catch a few things that I can harvest to make some green decorations. I'm going to make a wreath today. So I'm going to take some of these pine branches because these little trees are going to have to be moved because they're in the wrong place. They've just grown exponentially and we can't get into our compost bin. I'm just going to take some of these lower branches before we transplant this young tree, and hope it'll be okay when we do. It's such a lovely activity to be out collecting greens for the solstice and the Christmas celebrations. Oh, the smell of the pine needles is just divine. It's really mood enhancing and putting me in the mood for Christmas and solstice. Come on dogs, let's go and get the holly. We can actually see the holly because I've cut away some of the branches of the alder and the birch because they were just surrounding it. And I've never taken any holly from my own trees previously because they were just too young. But look how lovely and bushy this is this year. So I'm just going to take just one or two little branches just so that it feels included. Traditionally, you shouldn't cut holly. It's not really recommended. You should break the branch or find a broken branch. But I've cut it here just because with it being such a young plant, I don't want to damage it in any way by, you know, snapping it because it's very, very pliable and it's not going to snap easily. So holly is king of the forest and he shares the kingship with oak, and they swap over twice a year between summer solstice and winter solstice. So come with me, holly. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to go to my willow arch, which is behind me, because that too has grown exponentially and I need to trim it. So this willow arch is it's more like a hedgehog. It's got all these massive growths, very long and straight. So I'm going to use them for basket making. But for now, I'm just going to take a few that will make a wreath, and I'm going to get these lovely orangey ones. And these are lovely and long and pliable, so they will make a nice round wreath. The rest of these spiky growths I'm going to wrap round and incorporate into the arch, and it should make it lovely and strong. So I've got 4 there that can be woven together. So I think I'll go down to the... One more thing, I'll just get a little bit of eucalyptus. I think I'll just take one little piece of eucalyptus because I'd rather save it for indoors when we get closer to the solstice and Yule. Just take that little bit, I think. And of course, I cut this down right to here a couple of years ago, and it's coming up again beautifully. Hey. I'm going to bring all this beautiful, lovely Christmas-scented greenery into the house, and I'm going to make a wreath. You can see here I've got some evening primrose. What I love about this is it looks as if it's been sprayed gold, especially for the season, but it's just the way it just turns this colour naturally. So that'll make a lovely part of a Christmas Yule solstice arrangement. Let's get in, dogs, where it's warmer. Nice and warm in here. I have 4 long pieces of willow and I've been just kind of curving them around a little bit. So I'm going to start making my wreath by just bending them towards each end, towards its other end like this. And then I'm going to wrap it around. This is the way I do it. Lots of people do their own types of weaving, but this tends to work for me when I've made little wreaths in the past. So I've got a big end. I can cut that off later when we've got this stabilized. So I'm now going to just weave in another piece. I'm going to do it the opposite way. And these just wrap around inside one another because they're very flexible. There's the skeleton of the wreath, the bare bones of it. It's just 4 pieces of willow woven around each other. It's not a perfect circle, but it's going to be good enough because when I put in the greenery, it will look nice and round. So I'll put a piece of holly in here. Just wrap it underneath there and it'll come out. So there. I have another piece of holly here which is already quite rounded, so where's the best place? I think just pop it in there. And it soon begins to make a wreath shape. So I have a little piece of eucalyptus. I'm going to pop this in. I'll just pop it in the gaps between the willow because then it gets held in place. And then I can just weave it around. And, you know, things are going to dry in place. So they're going to hold their position. So now I have holly, I have some eucalyptus. I'll try a little bit of the pine. So the pine, I'm just going to cut short pieces and just stick them through the little gaps in the willow. So there's one little bit. Let's see. There's a lot here. We could make a wreath with this as well. I was in 2 minds about Christmas this year because I was thinking, you know, everything is just so miserable. Can I motivate myself to do all the usual preparations that I do every year? And then I decided that actually not to have the best Christmas ever would be giving in to the misery. And I decided I'm going to have the best Christmas ever this year. So here we are making the wreath and thinking of the evergreens that I'm using. You know, evergreens represent life eternal. And whatever is happening in the world, life will go on. So we can take some hope from that knowledge that life goes on and that life is eternal. Look, these greens, they're green in life, they stay green when they're cut, and they really help us to focus on the fact that life wants to live, doesn't it? Everything wants to live and thrive. Now put that in that bit. This is not a perfect wreath by any stretch of the imagination, and it's not meant to be because it's a rustic homemade wreath, And I like things that show imperfection or irregularity because it shows that it's natural. So it won't really compete with any of those shop-bought wreaths that are perfect circles and everything is perfectly tucked in and hanging just right. But that's the way I like it. So I think this point here is going to be the top point. And I'll just keep going around filling in a little bit more holly for now. A little bit more pine as well. I just popped outside and I went to get some little roses and I noticed that the azalea is turning into beautiful pinky green colours. So I'm going to pop a couple of these little sprigs in as well, just to add that a little bit of colour next to the green. Just going in between the willows. Ow! Ow! See a little space here. I think that's finished because, you know, you can do too much and then too much is too much. Sometimes less is more. But I think I might add one more thing because my friend Heike, she's a basket weaver and she's woven a little star. I'm going to put that hanging so that it hangs in the middle of the circle. So there we are. So that one is done. And I think I'm really glad I've done it because the smell of the pine and the beauty of the evergreens has restored, I don't know, my joie de vivre, and I'm going to make sure that I have the best ever Yuletide solstice Christmas celebration. And this is just the beginning. And I hope that you can also find something lovely and creative to do with natural materials from your garden. You can make a wreath or you can make a flower display or a table display rather, or whatever, it doesn't matter, but it helps you to get into the mood of the season. And, you know, however we're viewing the world at the moment, it's always good to take time out to celebrate life. And this is what a wreath does. It's a circle of never-ending life, and it's the evergreens which represent never-ending life. And so life is great. So I'm going to head back to my gardening work and I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week in between now and many blessings.